Welcome to day one of the AI Leadership Academy. My name is Fatima, and over the next 5 days, I am going to show you something that most people who use artificial intelligence every single day never bother to learn: how to stop treating AI like a magic 8-ball and start treating it like the precision instrument it was designed to be. Today is called the Prompt Engineering Council, and by the end of the session, you're going to understand exactly why that name matters and why this is the foundation for everything else we are going to build together. Let's get into it. Before we dive in, I want to set the table for you. Here are the 5 things you are going to walk away with today. First, you will master precision prompting as a real technical discipline, not as a guessing game, but as a repeatable skill. Second, you will understand how AI actually processes your words, because once you understand the engine, you can drive the car a whole lot better. Third, you will learn to build prompt chains and system-level commands, which is where we move from having one-off conversations to building actual workflows. Fourth, you will learn to engineer expert personas and what I call the council technique, which is one of the most powerful methods most people have never heard of. And fifth, you will learn to spot and fix the most common prompting mistakes that are probably sabotaging your results right now without you even realizing it. So let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this whole course is really about. It comes down to 3 things: knowledge, skill, and identity. Knowledge means you are going to build deep technical fluency in how AI processes language, and that understanding becomes your secret weapon. Skill means you're going to develop repeatable frameworks that work every single time, not tricks that work once and then stop working. And then there is identity, and this is the one that changes everything, because this course is not just about learning to use AI better. It is about transforming who you are in relationship to these tools. Look at the right side of the slide. Before this course, you probably type vague prompts and hope for the best, treating AI like a fancy Google search and accepting the first thing it gives you. After this course, you engineer precision prompts with surgical intent, you operate AI as a command system, and you iterate and refine until you get exactly what you need. Read that line at the bottom, because I mean it. This is not a tutorial. This is an operating system upgrade for your mind. All right, let's get into the real content. Here is what prompt engineering actually is. Prompt engineering is the systematic practice of designing, structuring, and optimizing inputs to AI systems to produce specific, high-quality, repeatable outputs. 3 words in that definition matter. Systematic means there is a method to this. It is not random. Structuring means your prompt has architecture. It is not just a pile of words. And repeatable means when you get good at this, you can do it again and again and get consistent results every time. Now look at the comparison table on this slide, because this is the most important distinction you will learn today. A user types whatever comes to mind and accepts the first response, and when something goes wrong, they blame the AI. An operator engineers structured prompts with clear roles and context. They evaluate and iterate on the response, and when something goes wrong, they debug their own instruction. A user asks, an operator commands. From this moment forward, you are operators. So what does a properly engineered prompt actually look like? There are 6 building blocks, and you can think of them as layers you stack together. Block 1 is role. Who is the AI acting as? If you do not define the role, the AI defaults to generic helpful assistant, and generic gives you generic results. Block 2 is context. What background information does the AI need to do a good job for you? Block 3 is task. What specific action should the AI perform? And I mean specific, not something vague like, help me with marketing. Block 4 is format. How should the output be structured? A table, bullet points, and email? If you do not specify, the AI guesses, and it usually guesses wrong. Block 5 is constraints. What are the rules? Word limits, things to avoid, specific requirements? Constraints actually make AI more creative, not less, which sounds backwards, but it is true. Block 6 is examples. What does good output look like? When you show the AI what you want, it calibrates dramatically. Now look at the bottom of the slide. The vague prompt says, tell me about marketing. That gives the AI nothing to work with. The precision prompt is a paragraph long. It defines a role, provides context, specifies a task, demands a format, and sets constraints. Night and day difference in output quality. And here's the thing most people never realize. Most people only provide block 3, just the task, and then they wonder why the AI gives them mediocre answers. Now, remembering 6 building blocks every time can feel like a lot, so let me give you some shortcuts. There's a framework called RISN, role, instructions, steps, and goal narrowing, which is great when you need the AI to follow a specific process. There is CO star, context, objective, style, tone, audience, response, which is perfect for content creation. There is chain of thought, where you literally just ask the AI to walk you through its reasoning step by step before it gives you an answer, and that one instruction alone can dramatically reduce errors. And then there is the universal precision template you can start using today. You are a specific role with this much experience in this domain. I need you to perform this specific task. Consider this context, format it this way, and here are the constraints. That template alone will outperform 90% of the prompts most people write. Let me make sure you understand the bigger picture of what AI actually is, because not all AI is the same. At the base of this pyramid, we have narrow AI. This is single-task AI like Siri or your spam filter or Netflix recommendations. And here's what is important. This is where we are right now. All of the AI we use today, including ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, is narrow AI, even though it feels incredibly smart. The middle tier is general AI, which would be AI that can reason across all domains the way a human can, and that does not exist yet. The top tier is super AI, which surpasses human intelligence in every dimension, and that is entirely theoretical. Within narrow AI, where we live, there is a whole landscape of generative tools: text generation, image generation, code generation, audio and video, and multimodal models that can do several of these things at once. There is no single best AI. There is only the best AI for this specific task. Now we are going under the hood, and I know some of you might be wondering if you really need to know how the engine works to drive the car. The answer is yes. Technically, you can just drive, but here's the thing. When the car breaks down, and it will, the person who understands the engine fixes it in 5 minutes, and the person who does not just stares at it and says, I don't know, it's broken. So here is the fundamental truth about large language models. They do not think, they predict the next most probable token, which means every single word is a mathematical prediction based on everything that came before it. Let me walk you through the 5 stages. Stage 1 is training data. The model consumes billions of books, websites, academic papers, and code repositories, and that training data becomes the model's knowledge, biases, and blind spots. Stage 2 is tokenization and embeddings. Your text gets broken into small pieces called tokens, and each token gets converted into a vector that captures its meaning and its relationships to other words. Stage 3 is the attention mechanism. Every token looks at every other token and calculates how important they are to each other, which is why your prompt context matters so much. Stage 4 is transformer layers. Modern models stack 80 to 120 layers, with early layers capturing grammar, middle layers capturing meaning, and deep layers handling abstract reasoning. Stage 5 is output. The final layer produces a probability distribution over the entire vocabulary and picks the most likely next token, then does it again and again until it has generated a complete response. Here is why this matters for you. If the AI gives you garbage, it is because your prompt shaped the probability landscape that led it there. Now that you understand the engine, let us talk about the dials and knobs you can actually control. The big one is temperature, which controls the randomness or creativity of the model's output. At 0.0, the model is deterministic. It always picks the highest probability token, which is perfect for code, legal documents, and data extraction. Between 0.4 and 0.7, you get balanced output that is coherent yet interesting, which is ideal for business writing and analysis. Between 0.8 and 1.2, the model gets creative, selecting less obvious tokens, which is great for brainstorming and creative writing. Above 1.3, things get chaotic and often incoherent, so that is really just for experimentation. You also have context windows, which is how much the model can see at once, your prompt and its response combined. And here's the catch. When you exceed the context window, the model does not warn you. It just silently starts dropping the oldest content, so your carefully crafted instructions from the beginning of the conversation are just gone, and you will not even know it happened. Always put your most critical instructions at the very beginning, because attention is strongest there. Now we are moving into advanced techniques, and this is where things get really exciting. Chain prompting is a simple but incredibly powerful concept. Instead of trying to do everything in one massive prompt, you break a complex task into a sequence of linked prompts where each output feeds the next input. Think of it like an assembly line. First you research and gather raw information, then you analyze and structure that information, then you draft and create, and finally you refine and polish. Each link can be optimized individually, you can inspect and correct at every stage, and it lets you tackle tasks that would be way too complex for a single prompt. Now, let us talk about the invisible hand, system prompts. Behind every AI conversation you have ever had, there is a system prompt you never see, and it is the first thing the AI reads before it ever sees your message, defining its personality, rules, constraints, and capabilities. When you learn to write your own system prompts, you are no longer just talking to the AI, you are programming its operating system. The 5 power moves are identity lock, behavioral rules, output formatting, guardrails, and meta instructions that tell the AI how to handle uncertainty and edge cases. System prompts are the single most powerful lever in prompt engineering, and most people do not even know they exist. This brings me to what I consider the signature technique of this entire course, expert personas and the council technique. When you assign a persona to an AI, you are not just saying act like an expert. You are building a character with 5 layers of depth. Layer 1 is the core identity, who they are, their name, their profession, their domain expertise. Layer 2 is their experience, how many years they have practiced, what their specializations are, what they have achieved. Layer 3 is their communication style, what their tone is, their vocabulary level, whether they use analogies or ask questions or give direct answers. Layer 4 is their methodology, how they solve problems, what frameworks they rely on, whether they start with first principles or with precedent. And Layer 5 is their constraints and values, what they will and will not do, what boundaries they operate within, what ethical considerations they prioritize. Now here is the magic, the council technique. What if instead of one expert, you summoned an entire council of experts? You define 3, 4, or 5 expert personas with different domains and perspectives. You present them with a problem. Each expert analyzes it from their unique angle, and then they debate and challenge each other's assumptions and find blind spots and reach a consensus recommendation. For a startup strategy problem, your council might include a venture capital partner evaluating funding viability, a product lead assessing technical feasibility, a marketing strategist analyzing positioning, a chief financial officer modeling the numbers, and a devil's advocate whose only job is to challenge every single assumption. This one technique produces executive-level analysis from a single conversation, and I have seen it replace hours of committee meetings with one well-structured prompt. We have covered a lot of powerful techniques, so now let us talk about the things that will sabotage all of it if you are not careful. I call these the 10 deadly sins of prompting. Number 1 is vagueness, unclear goals, and scope. Number 2 is no role assignment, missing persona, so the AI defaults to generic. Number 3 is information overload, cramming too much into one prompt, so the AI drowns. Number 4 is no format specification, letting the AI decide when you needed a table. Number 5 is accepting the first output as if it were final instead of treating it like a first draft. Number 6 is ignoring the context window and letting the conversation get too long. Number 7 is choosing the wrong model for the task at hand. Number 8 is providing no constraints, which sounds generous, but actually produces worse output. Number 9 is prompt and pray, no system, no framework, just gambling. And number 10 is skipping verification, not fact-checking when the AI invents citations or presents false information with absolute confidence. When things go wrong, and they will, you need a system for fixing them. First, you identify the failure, what specifically went wrong. Then you diagnose which part of your prompt caused it. Then you isolate one variable at a time and change only that. Then you rewrite with more specificity. Then you re-execute and compare the results against your prior output. Operators do not blame the tool. They debug the instruction. We are nearing the end of today's content, and I want to leave you with something that will keep growing in your mind long after this session ends. Meta-level thinking means thinking about thinking. The best prompts do not just ask the AI for an answer. They ask the AI to think about its own thinking, to outline its reasoning process, and identify potential blind spots before answering. Every prompt you write is a hypothesis about what will produce the best output, and when you iterate, you are not just trying again, you are running an experiment, adjusting variables, testing outcomes. The operator is a scientist. And finally, the instruction paradox. The more precisely you define what you want, the more creative and useful the AI becomes. You would think constraints would limit creativity, but the opposite is true. When you give AI a tight, well-defined box to play in, it plays brilliantly, and when you give it infinite space, it just wanders. Look at this progression at the bottom of the slide. The beginner asks, what should I ask? The intermediate asks, how should I structure this prompt? The advanced asks, how do I design systems that generate prompts? And the expert asks, how do I think about thinking with AI? That is where we are heading, not just writing better prompts, but designing better systems of thought. All right, homework time. This is not busy work. This assignment is designed to make everything we covered today stick, and it is where theory becomes practice. Here is the challenge. You are going to choose a real professional challenge from your actual career, something you are actually dealing with right now. You're going to write a precision prompt using at least one of the frameworks we covered, Risen, CoStar, or you can build your own. You're going to build a minimum 3-step prompt chain, research, analysis, and output at minimum. You're going to write a system prompt that includes an identity lock, behavioral rules, and output formatting. You're going to deploy the counsel technique with at least 3 expert personas, letting them analyze your problem from different angles. And you're going to document your iteration process, showing a before and after, showing where your first prompt fell short and what you did to fix it. Submit everything, your full chain, all the AI outputs, and a 1-page reflection before day 2 begins. If you hit excellent across the board, that earns counsel honors recognition, and yes, that is a real thing. That is day 1. Let us take a second to appreciate what you just absorbed. You learn the operator identity, who you are in relationship to AI. You learn the mechanics of prompting, the 6 building blocks, and the frameworks. You learn the AI landscape, the types of tools, and how to choose the right one for the job. You learn the architecture under the hood, how large language models actually work. And you learned advanced techniques, chains, system prompts, personas, and the counsel technique. That is a massive amount of ground to cover in a single session, and you stayed with it every step of the way. Now let me tell you about day 2. Tomorrow is called your AI-powered schedule, and here's the premise. You're going to take your actual real daily schedule, and we're going to figure out which tasks AI can handle for you. We're going to audit every single thing you do in a typical day, and then we're going to build AI workflows that automate roughly half of your routine work. Research, drafting, scheduling, analysis, communication. So much of what eats your day can be delegated to AI if you know how to set it up properly. The goal is simple, same output, half the manual effort. You get your time back, time to think, time to create, time to do the things that only a human can do. Complete your counsel challenge before we reconvene tomorrow. You entered this session as users. You leave as operators. Tomorrow, you become architects of your own time. This is AI Leadership Academy, day 1 of 5. The council will reconvene. See you tomorrow.